I allow myself to cry about it, but then I always say to myself, what did I learn from this? And what is the whisper from the universe? And what am I meant to do next? I really view this as messages that are meant to take me to the next level.
Welcome back to the Happiness in Progress podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Craig. I'm an Emmy Award-winning journalist, a mom, wife, and you know what I like to say, just a person looking for more joy in the everyday. This podcast is brought to you by the Mail Tribune. You can find more podcasts at mailtribune.com. Before we get started, I want to ask you to please rate and subscribe to this podcast. It just helps me continue doing this work. Today, you're going to hear from Angela Jia Kim. She is a former concert pianist and the founder of Savor Beauty and Spa, a Manhattan-based skincare and spa brand inspired by Korean beauty rituals. She's also the author of the brand new book, Radical Radiance, 12 Weeks of Self-Love Rituals to Manifest Abundance, Beauty, and Joy. And she's the creator of the Savor Beauty Planner, a self-care guide that helps women manifest beauty, brilliance, and balance. Today, we talk about self-care and how you can bring that into your life. I love how Angela intertwines skincare with self-care of you as a whole person. We're going to talk a lot about how you can do that. We're going to also talk about one of my favorite things, replacing all these various titles we have with just simply I am, and how to tap into your inner essence, how to go on and accomplish goals and do the things you want to do, make the impact you want to make, and get things done off your to-do list, avoiding the overwhelm, that and a whole bunch more. So let's get to it. Angela, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
It's such a pleasure to spend this afternoon with you, Danielle.
I absolutely loved reading your book. I love how easy it is to consume and how you tie it into rituals that people can add to their daily lives. It's called Radical Radiance. So I want to start with, what is Radical Radiance?
Well, a lot of people think that radical means extreme, but what it really means is root. So for me, radical radiance means getting to the deep root of who you are, knowing who you are intimately, and then loving what you see. And so that's why I called it Radical Radiance. Mm-hmm. And radiance to me is about, your inner beauty just shining from every single pore and into your life. And I really believe that's when you start manifesting abundance, beauty, and joy, from like a vibrancy, a confidence that's very, very attractive.
I had no idea because, like you said, I thought it was extreme. So to see that, really, that's not this maybe external thing to seem extreme or to go extreme on something. It's actually really this inner journey of getting to the root of yourself.
And radical, the meaning that people think it has, which is extreme, we can also see it as, how about an extreme, how about we just need to go to the other side of the pendulum and really take care of ourselves, so it's not a bad double entendre.
Yeah, no, it is not. Tell me a little bit about what you learned about self-care as a child.
That is such a great question. Well, I didn't learn anything about self-care as a child. I really learned that we had to work. My parents are, I would say, workaholics, and they are Korean. They had an excellent work ethic. And my dad, especially, he would say, wake up at 4 a.m, create a schedule. And from 4 to 4:15, you take a shower. From 4:15 to 4:30, you're planning your day. From 4:30 to 5:30, you're going to practice piano. From 5:30 to 5:45, you're going to take a little break for breakfast. And then it was like that all day, so it's not a surprise that I created the Savor Beauty Planner, to kind of, for people to, plan out their days, but I put in self-care in there. So what did I learn about self-care as a child? The one thing I did learn was I saw my mom washing her face every day and massaging her face with these serums and exotic creams from Seoul, Korea, that her sisters were sending her. And she really took care of her skin. And she would say to me, treat your skin like the most expensive silk on earth. And I, later on in life, as you know, I became a concert pianist, and then I launched a beauty skincare brand called Savor Beauty. I started to go on this journey of working. And then I started washing my face. And I remembered my mom would say, treat your skin like the most expensive silk on earth. And I thought to myself, what if I treated myself like the most expensive silk on earth, like not being so critical, not pushing, not tearing at it myself, not demanding so much of myself, not being so mean to myself. What if
Mm-hmm.
I was more gentle, and that was a huge epiphany for me. So that's what I learned as a child that I took into my
Mm-hmm.
adulthood.
That has become what you've created, this whole line of taking care of your skin, and that it's intertwined through your book, through
Mhm.
self-care. So how are those two things intertwined, the self-care and the taking care of your skin?
Did you ever watch Karate Kid and
I
Mr.
did. Yeah.
Miyagi?
Yeah.
We all did, right? So Mr. Miyagi, he was like, wax on, wax off, right?
Yeah.
And he had, this karate student just practicing that over and over again. And for me, that's sort of what skincare is. We learn, and that's how I structure the book, learn how to exfoliate, learn how to let go of that top layer of dead skin cells and exercise that on the exterior, and then we're going to go into the invisible inner energy and learn how to let go of the dead things in our life that we no longer need, that no longer serve us. So let me give you an example. So when you're purifying your face and exfoliating your face, it's a beautiful lesson in how the skin works. So there's this amazing process called desquamation. It's in the book, and it's about how there's a mother skin cell on the outside of our skin on the top layer. And only when it comes off can the daughter skin cell come up, and that's skin renewal. But we need to exfoliate and let go of that. And so I think that's a beautiful metaphor, symbolic way for us
Mm-hmm.
to let go of what no longer serves us in our life, that we need to exfoliate what no longer serves us in life. And so whether that's a toxic relationship, it's a career that no longer serves us, maybe it's a self-sabotaging thought that no longer serves us, we need to actually let it go.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't let it go and exfoliate and detox it from our life, then the newer, more magical way of thinking, new magical relationship, new magical career, it cannot surface, right? So that's really how I tie in the skincare, which I think is a beautiful metaphor and symbolic way of self-care that we can apply to our souls.
Yes, I absolutely love that. And it takes action, I think, and the action of exfoliating, and it takes action to move past those thoughts. And sometimes because the action's happening in the brain, it doesn't seem like action, but you have to decide that you are going to move forward, move past it, let it go, etc.
Right. And so that's why even when I'm doing my skincare, on our Savor Beauty products, we have this one word. There's a word on top of every single bottle that's different. It might say detox or purify or renew or hydrate, whatever it is. And I always use that as an affirmation. I'll look at the bottle, and as I'm purifying my face and cleansing, I'll say, I feel purified, or I'm detoxing what no longer serves me, or I'm exfoliating, or, so I like to say these affirmations, which I think is very important,
Mm-hmm.
to affirm what I want to manifest in my life.
Mm-hmm. And just in that moment, just for yourself. I love that too. I read in the book too, when you're putting your eye moisturizers on, to be tapping. And
Yeah.
so this morning I was just like tapping it on. And then, as you said, to learn to be more gentle with ourselves, I was thinking that's another correlation of I need to be gentle with my skin and gentle with myself.
Yes. Well, okay. So at our spas, we have 2 spas in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see people come in and they ask us a lot of amazing questions. But when I used to be there and teaching women how to take care of their skin, I was always so shocked at how they put on eye cream.
Mm-hmm.
And the typical way is just to put it on and then just start like smudging it all over and like being really, really aggressive.
Yes.
And I would always say, no, 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 no. Opposite. You need to be gentle, because our skin around the eyes is an eighth of the thickness for
Mm-hmm.
as the rest of the skin. So we need to be gentle. And so I don't know. Did you ever take piano lessons, Danielle?
I didn't.
You didn't,
No.
but so many of us did,
Yeah.
right? And so, okay, so many of us did not become concert pianists, but the our parents' investment will pay off, because you can just play piano very lightly around your eyes when you're putting on your eye cream to be gentle and to treat it like the most expensive silk on earth.
You have so many rituals in this book. And I just think it's such a cool way to put these rituals together with self-care and growing and manifesting. Of all the rituals, what is one that you think has helped you most in your life?
Ooh. Okay, here's a great one. The I receive ritual. And that's something I practice almost every morning now, because I am a type A personality. And I already divulged a little bit about my childhood, which is so beyond type A. And I'm scheduled and organized, and I want to hustle to get it done. Right. And that's how I spent the first 40 years of my life. Right. So receiving is a very different thing for me. And being able to just enjoy, like when you go after a goal and then you get the goal, and maybe it's not exactly what you expected the goal to be, or it not exactly how you want to experience it, but then just to allow the gifts of that moment and to come in and really absorbing it and being grateful for it and saying, I receive this, like,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever noticed, like, let's say you get a new job and you get your first paycheck and you're so excited, but then like a year later, you're like, I want more. I want more.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's this notion of just receiving the amazing gifts that are in your life and being so grateful for it. And then you were always evolving, and that's okay. But taking the lessons and realizing that we need to be grateful for the failures as well as the success. I know
Mm-hmm.
the receiving gifts part of it has been huge for me.
I'm a type A as well. And it's really, really easy to see what's still wrong and then being on that problem solving train all the time instead of taking a moment to receive what you've been given. Yeah. I love
Right.
that. And what you've worked for.
And even, doing this podcast with you, right? It's like, in the past when I was just in that hustle mode, and I live in New York City on top of it,
Yeah.
it would have just been very transactional. It's like, okay, a podcast, you know what I mean? But now I feel like it's an opportunity to really connect with you, really connect with your listeners, and feel, even when you and I got on the call earlier and we had a private conversation, I said, I really want to understand who your listeners are, because I
Mm-hmm.
really want to give them something special. I don't want it to be as transactional, but just more absorbing the spirit and the soulfulness of each interaction. Yeah.
Actually trying to make the impact. I think that is what really touches people and then allows them to go on in their lives and do the same things with their interactions that they are taking part in. I love
Yeah.
that.
I agree 100%.
I want to read this from your book. Okay. Quote, if I were to ask you, who are you? Chances are you would feel overwhelmed in an attempt to answer the question. Like many people, I labeled myself with multiple roles. I am a wife. I am a mom. I am a daughter. I am a sister. I am a performer. I am a boss. I am a creator. I am a founder. However, the definition of intimacy, feeling deeply known, inspired me to feel who I am on the inside versus define myself through labels. I have learned that feeling who I am taps into the energetic life force that exists within the body, while defining who I am keeps us in the limited mind of the head. You go on to say, when we cultivate a relationship with our inner essence, our soul radiates its magnificence. Eventually, I am XYZ labels transform into the simple and stunning statement of I am. End quote. I absolutely love that. Tell me how you learned this for yourself, because this is hard. I talk a lot about this ego of I am this, I am that. How did you learn this for yourself?
I think it was a crisis.
As it always is. Yes.
It was a crisis of, my Instagram, the little bio, it was just, I am mom, New Yorker, wife, and career woman, whatever it was. And it was just like, but we're not that, right? Because I think COVID taught us, right? It can just crumble and disappear in a moment. And then who are you without all of that?
Mm-hmm.
And I was also going through a divorce. And so suddenly that label of I am wife was not there. And it's like, well, who am I? And then during COVID, I didn't have my spa. So then I didn't have my businesses. And it's like double, who am I? So I experienced all that during COVID in 2020. And I had been working on self-love a lot anyway during that time, and I felt okay, without those labels. It's like, no, I just am. I am the quality of this moment right now. And so
Mm,
yesterday I was at the beach. It was a gorgeous day. And I've got a lot of texts coming in from the business. We have spas and there's a lot of hustle bustle. And I just left the phone in my car and I was like, I'm just going to be. I don't need to be all of those crazy thoughts in my brain of I need to get this done. I have to do this. Am I a failure? Do I need to do more? All of that stuff, I can leave that in the car and I can just go to the beach and I can enjoy the sounds. I can just be, right? It's
mhm,
a very
mhm,
profound it's a very profound way of being, and also to leave the stress away from your whole aura is very uplifting and healing.
mhm. Yes. I think as a type A personality where you were scheduled out and then you were an adult and you scheduled yourself out, I think that it's really, really hard to switch from the doing to the being, but it
Mhm.
is transformational because when you start doing that, you think, oh my gosh. I remember when I first started meditating, it was like 5 years ago. And so I had this 5 minutes to start where I was just being.
Mhm.
And, I felt like I was living on a different plane of existence just because I had never spent any time just being.
Yes. Yes. And also, that whole notion of meditating, it's hard for some people,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially if you are type A and you have two children, I know, and you've got a career and you're always on the go, I'm sure. It's hard for a lot of us who are multi hyphenates, right? I find that meditating you can do while you're walking.
Mhm.
It's just this kind of letting go when you're cooking. I live in New York City, so I have a balcony with roses, just watering the roses. You can really, even when you're washing your face, you can get into a meditative zone where I just am,
Mhm.
and I'm
Mhm.
enjoying the moment. One of my friends said something amazing. She meditates for like 8 hours a day. I mean,
Amazing.
yeah, she's amazing. She had a life-threatening moment where she can't work anymore, so she spends a lot of time meditating. I asked how she was doing, and she said, "It's great because now I'm starting to go back to work, but what's happening is even in work, I'm in a meditative state,
Mm.
which is phenomenal, I think." And so that's been very inspiring for me.
Yeah. Even as I said, when I started doing that, I was talking about meditating. You can very easily make that a doing thing instead of a being thing. So I love what you said. Really, I think it just comes down to being present with the moment that you're in, which is really hard for us in this 21st century because we got
Yeah.
these little phones and we have so many things to listen to and to say and yeah. So I think just taking that present moment makes a huge difference.
Yes.
We talked about letting that I am statement fall away and just be to I am, just simply I am. And part of that was going deep within you, finding that inner essence and really becoming intimate with yourself and who you are. What would you suggest? We talked about being present and meditating. Is there anything else you would should suggest to achieve that?
I'm so glad you asked that because I was thinking, I was like, oh, I feel like I want to give a nuts and bolts practical tip here, because that sounds so woo woo, right?
Mm, mhm.
I am. And how do you achieve that? And I think the first thing I did, and there's that meditation in the book on how to connect to your inner essence. So, um, first, let me define inner essence and let me share how you can get there. So, an inner essence, like in a beauty product, you will always see that there's a concentrate. There's something that that product achieves, like whether it's going to give you glow or it's going to give you age delay results, right? If you can think of ourselves as that age delay product, we all have an essence that's magical. It's magical and it's authentically yours. And if you can connect to that essence, you become so much more powerful. And that essence is ever evolving. It's growing as we experience life, right? And so I think for me I used to think I was a hardcore type A businesswoman, get it done, get it done. But when I started to meditate, and there are breathing exercises that you can do in the book, and you just start to feel that inner essence, it will start to come out, right? And once you get quiet and you just start to connect it, it's kind of connected into your gut. It's deep in your gut. And I instruct in the book to hold your belly. And you do these breathing exercises. And eventually it could take, for some people, 5 minutes. It could take 5 days. It could take many more times of meditation before you connect to it. Don't judge it. But once you connect to it, you can start describing it. And what surprised me was when I started describing my inner essence, it was soft and warm and fuzzy, very opposite to this hardcore New Yorker, right? And the more I tapped into it, the more I found that success started to flow more easily to me. And I was able to, and I found new love in my life. Like connecting to that inner essence, that's really who you are. And if you can allow it becomes so powerful and omnipresent in you that you start to approach your meetings that way. You start to lead with that. You start to become a parent that leads with that. But you need to connect to it every day, almost every moment, So it's a very powerful way of being. And I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah. I almost think that maybe some of the type A things that we do are really taught. And so it does take a little bit to back up and find that essence within us.
Yes. And I think I almost wonder if we are a little bit scared of that power. And so all of the other stuff that we've created in our life is more of a distraction from being who we really are, because it's very powerful.
It is
and
very powerful.
Light, and then you don't have to work so hard, Danielle. I mean, I don't, you know what I mean? Like things just sort of flow a little bit more naturally.
You mentioned the fear of it. I think there is the fear of, I know that being a type A personality works for me. I know that doing the hustle works for me. I know that going 110% on everything works for me. And so it's a little bit scary when you start to trust in something else that's not so mechanical.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting that you bring that up, because what I wrote in the book was I was really scared that if I connected to the softer side of me, that I would lose my edge and the competitive edge, right? And that I wouldn't be as successful. But the opposite really happened, because I also talk about a lot, and I talk about this on my blog, you can find on radicalradiance.com, about planting seeds. And my big thing is we should not stop planting seeds, which is planting seeds it's an action that has potential for growth. So whether, Danielle, that's you doing your podcast, that's a huge seed, right? So we still need to do those seeds, but we can approach it with less of that feeling of dread. And I have to do this, but rather I get to do this. I'm so excited because my essence is going to intermingle with other people's essences, and it's going to make a difference in their lives. So those to-do lists become more planting seeds, right? Even the to-do list of, I need to schedule my doctor's appointment because that is self-care. I need to pay this bill because that is going to help another business grow. You know what I mean? Like there's different ways to look at your to-do lists. That's much more spiritual and beautiful and fulfilling. And so when you do all of that and then you nourish these seeds, then you receive. It's a very different way of building success.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was just going to bring that up. Can you tell us about pulling weeds?
Well, pulling weeds is really it's an anti-procrastination method. So I mentioned I have a planner called the Savor Beauty Planner. And it's really about how do you not procrastinate? Because if you procrastinate doing the things like paying your bills or making those doctor's appointments, you're going to have a very ugly garden. And so pulling weeds every morning, even one or two every morning, you're going to have a beautiful garden, right? If you keep planting seeds. And I think that's the secret to abundance, financial wealth, success, is doing the planting seeds and pulling weeds every day.
Yeah, every day. Because I think the difference is when you let those weeds go for a really long time, then you have the overwhelm and you can't get to the seeds because you're so overwhelmed by all the weeds, and that stops you.
Yes.
I want to talk about spiritual intelligence, is what you called it. What is spiritual intelligence, and how can we start practicing that?
Spiritual intelligence is seeing the beauty in everything, whether it is a fail or a divorce, or maybe you just got fired from your job. You were just diagnosed with, health scare, whatever it is, there is beauty in the lessons. And that is spiritual intelligence. What is this meant? What is this telling me? And I really believe that anything that happens in business, in life, in love is a whisper from the universe to get you back on the right track. And if you see it like that, you become spiritually intelligent. And I really believe also, because I mentioned I went through a divorce, and my ex and I are now very good friends. We're actually have a better relationship than we did in our marriage. And we're excellent co-parents. We're very much on the same page. It's because I was able to leave that relationship and evolve it into a friendship, because I was able to take my responsibility and what did I do to contribute to this? And what did I learn from it? And once you're able to clean up your side of the sidewalk and not point fingers, I'm telling you, it's a new ball game. And it's also, I started dating in Manhattan, and dating is like Sex in the City in New York City. It's really tricky. And I went into it not wanting to get into something so serious. I went into it more like, I want to learn and I want to have fun. And I'm just going to have fun with this. And the feedback, the thing that I always heard from all of the dates that I went on was, you have a glow. And at first I was like, what are these guys talking about? Like, are they talking about my skincare? But I realized that men are very intuitive and they can sense your radiance. And if you've got a lot of muck and anger and revenge, and it really makes the energy murky and unattractive. And they kind of can feel that, so I feel like the spiritual intelligence really gave me a glow, and in fact, my partner, we lived together, and the first thing he said when we saw each other is, he's from the Middle East, so his English is not perfect, but he was like, you have a halo around you. I can't, there's a halo. And what he meant was there's a glow, there's an aura. And I think when you practice spiritual intelligence, you connect to your inner essence. You do get this glow and this magnetism that's irresistible, and it's a vibrancy, it's a confidence that's gorgeous and authentically yours.
I absolutely agree. And I can feel that here talking to you today.
Oh,
The last question that I like to ask all my guests is, what is your number one tip to finding more joy in the good, the bad, and the in between?
well, I think I just answered that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
It really is. One of my friends once called me and she said, well, how do you seem to have it all together, Angela? Like, what did I just draw the wrong card from the deck here? Like, I feel like my life is always so crazy and chaotic, and you seem to have it put together. And I said to her, I don't. I probably have more bad news coming in every day than you do. But the thing is I think I really, and I get down and I get depressed. I allow myself to cry about it, but then I always say to myself, what did I learn from this? And what is the whisper from the universe? And what am I meant to do next? I really view this as messages that are meant to take me to the next level, right? So that's how you find joy.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Danielle. You're a joy.
I hope you enjoyed hearing from Angela. You can find all of her information in show notes as always. And I want to ask you one more time to subscribe to this podcast. And thank you for being here on Happiness in Progress.